We install cameras to feel safe, to watch the places we can't see, to capture evidence of things that might happen while we sleep. We mount them above our doors and in our hallways and pointed at our driveways, and we trust that whatever they record will make sense, will follow the rules we understand, will show us burglars or package thieves or raccoons knocking over trash cans, ordinary intrusions with ordinary explanations. But sometimes the cameras capture something else. Sometimes they show us things that shouldn't be possible. People who appear from nowhere and vanish into nothing. Figures that move through locked houses as if the walls don't exist. Evidence that we are not alone in the spaces we thought belonged only to us. The following 3 accounts come from homeowners who installed security systems expecting peace of mind. What they got instead was proof that something was very, very wrong. Proof they can watch again and again. Proof they wish they'd never seen. Story 1. The Man on the Porch. Part 1. Diana Reyes had been a single mother for 4 years by the time she installed the Ring doorbell. Her ex-husband had moved to California after the divorce, leaving her to raise their daughter Marisol alone in a quiet suburb of Phoenix. She didn't mind the solitude, she minded the vulnerability. A woman alone with a child in a house with too many windows and not enough locks. A woman who lay awake some nights listening to sounds she couldn't identify, wondering if the creak was the house settling or something else, something worse. The Ring was supposed to help with that. A small camera above the door, an app on her phone, motion alerts that would let her know if anyone approached while she was at work or asleep, or just trying to convince herself that the world wasn't as dangerous as it sometimes felt. For 6 months, the camera captured nothing unusual. Delivery drivers, neighbors walking dogs, Marisol coming home from school and waving at the camera because Diana had told her it made her feel better to see her daughter's face pop up on her phone at 3:15 every afternoon. Normal life, boring footage, exactly what Diana wanted. Then came the alert on March 7th at 4:17 a.m. Diana was asleep when her phone buzzed. She almost ignored it. Motion alerts sometimes triggered for passing cars or stray cats. But something made her check, some instinct that pulled her out of sleep and made her reach for the phone and open the app and look at the live feed from her front porch. A man was standing on her porch, directly in front of the door, facing it. He was maybe 6 feet tall, average build, wearing dark clothes that were hard to make out in the infrared footage. His hands hung at his sides, his feet were planted shoulder-width apart. He wasn't moving, he wasn't doing anything, just standing there, staring at her door. Diana's first thought was that he was waiting for someone, that he'd gotten the wrong house, that he would realize his mistake and leave. She watched for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. He didn't move, didn't shift his weight, didn't look at his phone or check a piece of paper or do any of the things a lost person would do. He just stood there, facing her door, as if he was waiting for it to open. Part 2. Diana called 911. She whispered into the phone, afraid somehow that the man on the porch might hear her, even though 2 walls and a locked door separated them. The dispatcher was calm, professional, told her officers were on their way, told her to stay inside, stay quiet, don't engage. She stayed on the line, watching the live feed on her phone, watching the man who still hadn't moved. The dispatcher asked her to describe him. Diana tried, but there wasn't much to describe. Average height, average build, dark clothes. She couldn't see his face clearly in the infrared, just the pale oval of it turned toward her door. The eyes were the worst part. They never moved, never blinked. He was staring directly at her doorbell camera, directly at the lens, as if he knew she was watching, as if he wanted her to watch. 12 minutes passed. The man didn't move. Police arrived. 2 officers approached from the street, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Diana watched on the feed as they came up her walkway, shouting commands. And then, between one frame and the next, the man was gone. Not running, not retreating, just gone. The officers found nothing, no one hiding in the bushes, no car speeding away, no evidence that anyone had been standing on Diana's porch except for the footage on her phone. They searched the perimeter of the house anyway, and that's when Officer Daniels found the footprints, muddy impressions in the flower bed beneath Marisol's window. The same shoe size, the same tread pattern, leading from the side of the house where the man must have walked after Diana started watching the feed to the window of her daughter's bedroom. The window screen had been removed, not torn, not forced, removed, carefully, quietly. The screws were lying on the ground beneath the window, arranged in a neat row. The officer checked the screen. It had been removed from the inside. Diana didn't sleep that night. She didn't sleep for several nights after. She hired a security company to install a full system, cameras on every side of the house, motion sensors, an alarm that would scream if anyone touched a door or window. She had the locks changed, the windows reinforced. She did everything she could think of to make her home impenetrable. But she couldn't stop thinking about the screen, removed from the inside. That meant someone had been in Marisol's room, had stood at her window, had carefully, quietly taken the screen off and laid the screws in a neat little row. But how? When? The bedroom door had been closed all night. Marisol had been asleep. Nothing on the indoor cameras, which Diana installed after the incident, showed anyone entering the house. The answer came from Marisol herself, a week later, mentioned casually over breakfast. "I've been sleepwalking again," she said. "I keep waking up in weird places. Last night I was standing at my window. Isn't that weird?" Diana felt the world tilt. "Again? You've been sleepwalking before?" "Yeah, for like a month. It's so random. I actually made a TikTok about it. It got like 10,000 views." Diana found the TikTok that afternoon. Marisol, being a normal 16-year-old, had filmed herself talking about her weird sleepwalking habit. She'd mentioned waking up at her window. She joked about unlocking the front door in her sleep. She tagged the video with her city, Phoenix, her neighborhood. Diana hired a digital forensics consultant, someone who could trace who had been watching her daughter's videos, who had been following her account, who had commented or liked or saved the sleepwalking post. There were thousands of interactions. It would take time, but one account stood out. A profile with no photo, no posts, no followers. The account had been created the same day Marisol posted the sleepwalking video. It had viewed the video 847 times. It had saved the video to a private collection, and it had left one comment that Marisol had missed in the flood of notifications. "I'll wait until you open it for me." The account was deleted 3 hours after the man vanished from Diana's porch. The police are still investigating. They have the ring footage, they have the footprints, they have the comment, but they don't have a face, they don't have a name, they don't know who was standing on Diana's porch for 47 minutes, staring at her door, waiting for a sleepwalking teenager to do exactly what she told the entire internet she did. Diana moved her family 6 weeks later. New city, new state, new house with more cameras than rooms. Marisol deleted all her social media. She stopped sleepwalking after they moved. Or maybe she still does. Maybe, somewhere in their new house, she's unlocking windows in her sleep. Maybe, somewhere, someone is watching, waiting. Diana checks the cameras every night at 4:17 a.m. So far, the porch is always empty, but she started noticing something strange. A car that drives by at the same time every night, slow, too slow. She can't see the driver through the windshield, can't make out the license plate, but it's there, every night, passing by, as if someone is watching from a distance now, learning a new routine, waiting for a new opportunity, waiting for Diana to stop being afraid. Story 2. The Figure in the Living Room. Walter and Eleanor Crane had lived in their Florida home for 37 years. They'd raised 3 children there, celebrated anniversaries, watched grandchildren learn to walk on the same hardwood floors where their own kids had taken their first steps. The house was more than a building to them. It was their history, their life, the only place they'd ever felt truly at home. They installed the security cameras at their daughter's insistence. She lived in California now, worried about her aging parents alone in a house that was too big for them, wanted to be able to check in and make sure they were okay. Walter thought it was unnecessary. Eleanor agreed, but went along with it to ease their daughter's mind. 2 cameras, one in the living room, one pointed at the back door. Simple, unobtrusive, easy to forget was there. For nearly a year, the cameras captured nothing of note. Walter shuffling to the kitchen for midnight snacks. Eleanor reading on the couch until she fell asleep with her glasses still on. The cat stalking invisible prey across the living room at 3 a.m. Normal footage of a normal life. Then came the night of October 15th. The cameras were motion-activated, designed to record only when something moved in their field of view. The next morning, Eleanor noticed the camera app showed a recording from 2:14 a.m. Neither of them had been up at that hour. She assumed it was the cat. She opened the recording anyway, curious what whiskers had been hunting this time. It wasn't the cat. Someone was walking through their living room, a figure, human-shaped, moving slowly across the frame from left to right, passing the couch where Eleanor had fallen asleep just hours earlier, passing the bookshelf with 40 years of family photos, passing so close to the camera that for a moment the frame was filled with darkness, with fabric, with the suggestion of a body moving through space that shouldn't be occupied. Eleanor watched the figure reach the wall of photos, stop, lean closer, as if studying them. It stood there for nearly a minute, motionless, looking at pictures of their children, their grandchildren, their wedding day. Then it turned and walked toward the hallway. The camera lost it as it moved out of frame, toward the stairs, toward the bedroom where Walter and Eleanor had been sleeping. Eleanor called Walter. They watched the recording together. Then they watched it again and again, trying to understand what they were seeing. The figure moved like a person, walked like a person, had the proportions and gait of someone perfectly normal, but it had come from nowhere, was going nowhere, had passed through their locked house like the walls weren't there. They called the police. Officers came, searched the house, checked every door, every window, every possible point of entry. Everything was locked from the inside. The deadbolt on the front door, the chain on the back, the windows painted shut decades ago. There was no way anyone could have gotten in. And yet the footage showed someone walking through their living room at 2:14 a.m. The officers had no explanation. They filed a report, suggested maybe it was a glitch, a trick of the light, an artifact in the recording. They suggested a lot of things, but Eleanor could see they didn't believe any of them. They'd watched the footage too. They'd seen how the figure moved, how it stopped, how it looked at the photographs like it was searching for something specific. That wasn't a glitch. That was a person. Their daughter suggested they stay in a hotel while she arranged for a more thorough investigation, hired a private security consultant, someone who could analyze the footage properly, tell them what was really going on. Walter refused. This was his home. He'd lived here for 37 years. He wasn't going to be chased out by a video he didn't understand. They stayed. They added more cameras, a motion sensor in the hallway, a camera at the top of the stairs, another in the kitchen. They turned their home into a surveillance state, watching themselves from every angle, waiting for the figure to return. It didn't. For 2 weeks, the cameras captured nothing but their own routines. Walter began to relax. Eleanor almost convinced herself it had been a one-time event, something they would never explain but also never see again. Then the security consultant finished his analysis of the original footage. He called their daughter. She called them. Her voice was strange, strained, like she was trying to stay calm but failing. "Mom? Dad?" The consultant enhanced the video. He cleaned up the image, adjusted the contrast. He got a clearer picture of the figure. Eleanor felt her heart beating too fast. And the figure was wearing Dad's blue cardigan, the one that hangs in your closet, and Mom's reading glasses, the ones you leave on the coffee table. A long pause, and the face, when it looked at the photos, when it turned toward the camera. What about the face? Their daughter was crying now. Eleanor could hear it, the shaking in her breath. "It's your face, Mom, both of you. The face keeps changing. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's Dad, like it's wearing you, like it's practicing being you." The Cranes moved out that night. They didn't pack properly, just grabbed clothes, medications, important documents, drove to their daughter's house in California, and didn't look back. The house went on the market. It sold quickly. The new owners were a young couple, eager to start a family. Walter and Eleanor didn't tell them about the footage. What could they say? What would they believe? The security consultant's enhanced video has been analyzed by 3 different experts since then. All of them confirmed what the first one found. The figure was wearing the Cranes' clothes, items from their closet, items from their drawers, things that had been there for years undisturbed, waiting to be worn by something that had no right to wear them. And the face, the shifting, flickering face that couldn't decide which of them it wanted to be. 2 of the experts suggested video manipulation, deepfake technology, someone playing an elaborate prank. The 3rd expert, an older man who'd spent 30 years analyzing surveillance footage for the FBI, offered a different opinion. "I don't think anyone edited this footage. I think the camera captured exactly what was there." When asked what that meant, he declined to elaborate. He returned the footage and refused further involvement. He did, however, send Eleanor one email 3 weeks after his analysis was complete.
I've seen a lot of strange things in my career. Most of them have explanations. This doesn't. My advice? Don't try to understand it. Don't go back. And if you ever see that figure again, in person, in photos, in reflections, don't look at its face. Don't let it know you can see it. Whatever it is, it's wearing you because it wants to become you. Don't give it the chance. The new owners of the house have reported nothing unusual, no figures in the night, no cameras capturing unexplained visitors. Maybe the thing in the footage left when the cranes did. Maybe it followed them. Eleanor doesn't know. She's afraid to find out. But sometimes late at night, she catches Walter staring at the bedroom mirror with an expression she doesn't recognize. And sometimes, when she sees her own reflection, she could swear it moves a half-second too slow, blinks when she's not blinking, smiles when she's not smiling. She's stopped looking in mirrors. She stopped looking at old photographs. She stopped watching the security footage from their daughter's house, even though the cameras are there to make her feel safe. Because she's starting to wonder if the cameras are watching her, or if something else is watching through them, practicing, learning, waiting for the right moment to stop being a reflection and start being real.
Story 3. The Hand in the Closet. Rachel and Tom Kimura bought their first home together 3 months after their wedding. A modest 2-bedroom in a quiet Oregon neighborhood built in 1987 with a fenced backyard and a garage that Tom immediately claimed as his workshop. It wasn't perfect. The kitchen was outdated, the bathrooms needed work, the carpet throughout was a shade of brown that should have been illegal, but it was theirs, their first real home as a married couple, somewhere to build a life. The previous owner had died, that's how they'd gotten such a good deal. An elderly man named Harold Vance, who'd lived alone for years, passed away in his sleep, left the house to a nephew in another state who just wanted it sold. The estate sale had cleared out the furniture and personal items. By the time Rachel and Tom took possession, the house was empty, clean, ready for them to make it their own. They moved in on a Saturday. By Monday, they noticed things were missing. Small things. A hairbrush Rachel was sure she'd left on the bathroom counter. A phone charger Tom had plugged in by the bed. A coffee mug from the kitchen that Rachel's mother had given her as a housewarming gift. They blamed the move, blamed each other, blamed the chaos of unpacking boxes and not being able to find anything and adjusting to a new space. Things got lost during moves. That was normal, but the disappearances continued. A sock from the laundry, a book from Tom's nightstand, an earring from Rachel's jewelry box, always small items, always from the bedroom or the closet or the bathroom, the private spaces where they slept and dressed and felt most vulnerable. Never anything valuable, never anything that would make them think theft, just small personal items vanishing as if the house was slowly digesting pieces of their life. After 2 weeks, Tom suggested cameras. Just to see what's happening, he said. Maybe we have mice, or a draft that's blowing things somewhere, or one of us is sleepwalking and moving stuff. Rachel agreed. They set up 3 wireless cameras, one in the living room, one in the bedroom, one pointed at the closet where most of the disappearances seemed to be centered. The first 2 nights, nothing happened. On the 3rd night, the closet camera captured something that made Rachel's blood turn to ice.
The footage was time-stamped 3:24 a.m. Rachel and Tom were visible at the edge of the frame, asleep in their bed, their breathing slow and even. The closet doors were closed, the way Rachel always left them because she didn't like looking into the dark space while she slept. For 18 minutes, nothing moved. Then, one of the closet doors opened, slowly, silently, just a few inches, and a hand emerged. A human hand, adult-sized, pale, the fingers long and thin and somehow wrong in their proportions. It moved with terrible patience, reaching out from the darkness of the closet and across the floor toward the dresser, stretching, extending, further than a hand should be able to reach. Rachel watched the footage and counted. The hand traveled nearly 8 feet from the closet to the dresser. 8 feet of arm that never fully appeared, just the hand attached to something hidden in the shadows, extending impossibly across the bedroom floor. The fingers found the top of the dresser, searched blindly among the items there, touched Rachel's jewelry box, Tom's watch, a small ceramic dish where they kept spare change. The hand found what it was looking for, a hair tie, a simple elastic band that Rachel had left on the dresser before bed. The fingers closed around it, and then the hand retreated, back across the floor, back into the closet. The door closed behind it, slowly, silently, as if it had never opened at all. Rachel and Tom called the police. The police called animal control. Someone suggested they might have a raccoon in their walls, a large one with very dexterous paws. No one wanted to say what the footage actually showed, what it looked like, what it meant. The officers searched the closet, found nothing unusual, a row of hanging clothes, some boxes on the shelf, a few pairs of shoes on the floor, and in the back corner, barely visible behind Rachel's winter coats, a panel in the wall, an access panel for the crawl space. The officers opened it, shined their flashlights into the darkness beyond, and found blankets, a sleeping bag, empty food wrappers, energy bars, crackers, things that could be eaten quietly in the dark, a plastic jug for water, a flashlight with batteries that still worked, and a notebook, a small composition notebook, the kind students used in school, filled from cover to cover with handwriting. The notebook contained observations, detailed, meticulous, spanning months. March 15th, new owners arrived, young couple. She has brown hair, he wears glasses. They seem happy. March 18th, learned their names from mail on the counter. Rachel and Tom Kimura. She works from home. He leaves at 7:30 every morning. 24 March, she takes showers at 6 a.m. He showers at night around 10. The bathroom door doesn't lock properly. 2nd April, took her hairbrush. She has such beautiful hair. I wanted something that smelled like her. The entries continued, pages and pages of observations about Rachel and Tom's daily routines, what they ate, what they watched, what they said to each other when they thought they were alone. The author of the notebook had been watching them, learning them, living in their walls while they slept, emerging at night to take small tokens of their existence, retreating before dawn. Dozens of items were documented: the hairbrush, the phone charger, the coffee mug, things Rachel and Tom had thought they'd lost or misplaced, all taken, all cataloged, all kept somewhere in the crawl space where the author's notebook made their home. The police expanded their search. They followed the crawl space from the closet access panel through the walls, beneath the floors, into spaces that shouldn't have been accessible. They found where someone had been living, not for weeks, for years. Blankets that had rotted and been replaced, food wrappers dating back to 2019, holes drilled in the walls that provided views into every room in the house, holes covered with dark fabric that would be invisible from the other side. Someone had been watching every previous owner, every tenant, everyone who had ever lived in this house. The investigation took 3 weeks. The identity took longer. Harold Vance, the previous owner, had a son named Jeremy. Jeremy had been declared legally dead in 2018 after disappearing without a trace. His car had been found abandoned by a river. A note had been left suggesting suicide, but no body was ever recovered. Jeremy Vance had not committed suicide. He had moved into the crawl space of his father's home, had lived there for years, watching his father, watching the estate sale after his father died, watching Rachel and Tom move in and start their new life. The police found him on a Friday. He'd fled when the cameras were installed, apparently aware that his nighttime activities might be documented. He'd been living in the crawl space of a vacant house 2 streets away. He didn't resist arrest. He seemed almost relieved to be found. In his possession was Rachel's hairbrush, Tom's book, dozens of small items taken from houses throughout the neighborhood over years of silent intrusion, and more notebooks, hundreds of pages of observations about strangers who never knew they were being watched. Rachel and Tom sold the house. They didn't wait for a good offer. They took the first bid and left within a week. They rent an apartment now, 3rd floor, no crawl spaces, no walls thick enough to hide a person. They still have cameras, more cameras than the apartment needs.
More cameras than any apartment should have. Rachel checks them every night, every morning, every time she hears a sound she can't explain. But sometimes, even with the cameras watching, she still wakes up at 3:24 a.m., still feels that prickling awareness that someone is looking at her, still glances at the closet door, which doesn't lead anywhere, which has no space behind it, which is just a closet, and feels absolutely certain that if she opened it, she would find a hand reaching toward her in the dark. Jeremy Vance is in prison now, sentenced to 8 years for stalking and breaking and entering. He'll be eligible for parole in 4. Rachel keeps track of the date. She knows exactly when he might be released. She knows exactly how long she has before he could come looking for her again. And sometimes, late at night, she wonders if Jeremy was the only one, if other crawl spaces in other houses might hide other watchers, if every creak and settle of every home is just the house adjusting to temperature, or if somewhere in the spaces between walls, someone is listening, watching, waiting for the right moment to reach out a hand and take something that doesn't belong to them, something small, something personal,
something that will help them feel close to the people they've been watching for years. Rachel doesn't know. She's afraid to find out. But every night before she goes to sleep, she checks the closets, all of them, even the ones that lead nowhere, because she's learned that nowhere is exactly where the monsters like to hide. These accounts represent a small fraction of the disturbing footage that security cameras capture every night. Most of it has explanations, glitches, animals, neighbors, tricks of light and shadow, but some of it doesn't. Some of it shows things that shouldn't be possible. People who appear from nowhere, figures that walk through locked houses, hands that reach from spaces too small to hold a human body. We install cameras to feel safe, to watch the places we can't see, to believe that if something comes for us, we'll at least have evidence, we'll at least know what happened. But knowing doesn't make us safe. Knowing just means we have to watch the footage, have to see what happened while we slept, have to understand that the walls between us and the darkness are thinner than we thought. The next time your phone buzzes with a motion alert, consider not checking it. Consider not knowing. Consider letting whatever happened in your hallway or your porch or your living room remain a mystery. Because some footage, once you see it, you can never unsee. Some knowledge, once you have it, changes everything. And some nights, ignorance isn't just bliss. It's the only thing standing between you and a truth that will follow you for the rest of your life.